Hi, everybody. It's a pretty intimate room, right? Not that many people, but like glad to have you. So I'm a French speaker. So if you want to ask me a question in French at the end, I can translate in English. I'm super glad to be here today. Going to talk about like streamlining AI development with Docker. I know it's the AI track. We're going to talk a lot about infrastructure, but also a lot about how you get your tool there. So basically, maybe I don't know. I used to be saying like, do I really need to present Docker? Like, who thinks that we are shipping things in real containers with real ships? No, we don't, right? This is a software company. We get it. Everybody gets it? All right. So since 2013, Docker has been the cornerstone of software development. Like, it's not a sponsored thing. Like, we are the #1 developer love tool on Stack Overflow for the last few years. We don't give them any money, right? Like, so it's them, they choose it, right? It's not us. And since the 2019, Docker has shifted towards like helping engineers actually develop software, and that's what we're going to talk today. So what else should I tell you about Docker? Yeah, I think you know about like what Docker do, right? Like, but just one thing. What I really love the way, I mean, it's probably one of the hardest company you need to explain when you told to your wife or your grandmother about like, what do I do? I'm like, this is about container, software. So it's kind of hard. But one way to actually explain it is the magic moment, right? Like for those who remember, you see I have gray hair here. For those who remember back in the days before 2013 and container were there, when you want to start a database on your system, right? Like what was it? Today you Docker run Oracle, Docker run PSQL or MySQL, and boom, it works, right? That's just that magic moment that Docker provides. You Docker run something and it runs on your machine, be it like a Apache server, Nginx, or whatever. And if you remember before that, you have to manage like configuration and I don't know, the language on which your system was and all that stuff, right? So that was pretty complex. So that's what Docker solved. All right, you seems to be knowing whatever I'm doing. So anyway, I'm going to go fast now. So forget to start my timer. And then, so I'm GL, the SVP of engineering at Docker, been there forever. I think you already gave me a quick intro. And I'm now driving a few teams doing AI development. So that's what I'm going to show you today. So before, since it's an open source company, and I was really happy to see that PyTorch was talking about them having like, I think 30,000 stars on GitHub, right? So if you think Docker Compose here as one of the projects that's all those projects are actually sponsored by Docker. I believe Docker is actually contributing to open source. This is in our DNA, right? It's even in our DNA that even our internal processes at Docker actually are using still like the kind of process that you use on open source projects. For instance, like in some of those projects, you need like 2 maintainers to validate any kind of contribution. We still do this internally, right, for those projects and others. So the first line, you see a lot of projects that we do today that we have engineers working on every day. So for some perspective, PyTorch is very, very well known, right? Docker Compose has 30,000 stars right now on GitHub, so it's roughly the same as PyTorch. And Moby, which is the core of Docker, has like something like 60,000. So this is like not the traditional small open source project that you can see around. These are big, big stuff, right? And then Docker also contribute to the lower level open source project, which are at the bottom there. So Moby, Buildkit, Runc, and Containerd, which are powering even like a competitor's product, right? Where we still contribute to those projects anyway. So just like that was the open source flavor to today. And actually, we also do things for AI. I'm going to talk about it now. Anyway, lots of AI agents are being built right now. This is the slide that says like it's important to talk about AI agent, right? It's like lots of money invested into the system. And you can see that AI infrastructure in particular and AI agent at the top are things which people are putting lots of money on. So what you need to remember from this slide is everybody is spending money on this, right? So that means that it's important to actually understand how we can help people building AI infrastructure or AI agent, how we can be helping them. And that's what we're trying to do here at Docker by trying to see if I didn't think if I missed anything in my note. No, I didn't. So yeah, lots of AI agents are being built. And one of Docker mission is to help the engineers actually ship those things. So that's what I'm going to show you. Basically, I think like when I talk to customer and they're like, oh yeah, I'm going to start an AI agent team and they're going to build something, right? They face those 3 main issues. One of them that's build AI applications is not that easy, right? Like Gen AI application is like you have to have access to GPU, you have to access a lot of different things. So they actually struggle with that. And then the second one is my favorite, right? Ensuring security and compliance. If you haven't been building AI application up to now, I think it's something which is quite funny, right? You remember all the trials that some insurance company had to face when their AI chatbot actually answers hallucinations from the contracts that some customer was asking, right? Now they have to pay money to those people, right? So if you build an application, you're responsible for that, then I don't know, it's a challenge, right? And of course, now you've been all hearing about agentic workflow or application, right? Where the agent is actually doing things on your behalf, of someone else. If you're in security, you have a good time in front of you to manage all those things, right? If you imagine an agent actually doing things by itself, right, you need to be ensuring the security and, of course, compliance for a bigger company. So I think this is the kind of the main challenge that customer told me. And of course, containers provide the solid foundation to bring apps, right? Like GenAI apps is just the traditional apps from the Docker point of view. So you could still use the usual things, right? When you put your GenAI app in a container, then you have a layer of security, a layer of compliance, and a layer of ease of deployment, which is still the same. For us at Docker, we don't see a much difference between traditional apps and GenAI apps. There is a few tweaks, so we're going to go through them today. And don't take my words for it. This is like the pitch, right? I'm from Docker. I'm telling you, like, my technology is the best, of course. But this is what people are doing. This is the source of this thing, right? Like most of the applications today are shipped with containers, and actually that's the same for GenAI, right? So this is what this survey says. Like 70% of people plan to containerize their GenAI apps, and most of the AI applications are done with containers. And also, as you might know, we manage the Docker Hub, which is one of the largest container registry in the world, and we see quite a peak of image being pulled, which are AI related. So it's just like it's the confirmation that this is important. So at Docker, what we do, right? Why do I am here, right? When you think about AI, you don't think necessarily about Docker right from the start, right? So we do three things. That's what I'm going to go through today. So basically, the little purple thing at the bottom is basically saying that this is like Docker as usual, right? Containers and workflows that you used to know. So, and we provide like 3 new technology which are on top of this. One is the model runner, the other one MCP catalog and toolkit. You're going to hear about MCP a lot, I'm sure, like since yesterday and today. And then we also have something called an AI agent that we give a familiar name of Golden, that actually helps also you understand how to build AI agents itself. So 3 projects, that's what I'm going to do now. That was a quick intro. I'm going to go through the three projects I want to talk to you about. So the first one is Docker Model Runner. And actually what we're trying to do with the Docker Model Runner is how can you be running a model locally on your workstation, right? That's the premise, right? But since we're Docker, it's kind of a new stack, right? You want to be using the same processes that you used to be when you use Docker, right? We are well known for our UX, right? Back in 2013, there were many container systems that were competing. And one of them won, Docker, because we were very good at UX. So we want to continue for people to be building AI agent that they use the same UX as before. So that's one thing. But also it's a new stack, right? Like it's slightly different, right? So you want probably have access to the GPU, for instance, right? So when you run things in container, as you know, then you're shielded from the operating system. That might not be super easy. So what does the Docker Model Runner do? It does those 4 things there, right? The first thing is that it allows you to pull models from Docker Hub or any other kind of registry, right? It's fully available because we create an OCI artifacts specification to package the models. That means that in plain language, you can put a model inside a container image and you can fetch it and pull it from wherever you want as it was before. So we use the same way of storage, the same way of pulling, the same way of getting things. The second thing, if you're privacy conscious or you're just like traveling around or like in a Wi-Fi conference network, all the LLMs runs completely locally on your workstation, right? That's the premise of the main goal of that. And the reasoning behind it is the same as when you deploy a Docker application. You want to be sure to kind of reproduce production on your local system. The second thing, and that's probably the thing that surprised most people, is like we got full GPU support for your local model. And that's done by actually not running the model inside a container. We're running the model on the host directly. And we make some kind of a bridge between the container and the model. I'm going to go into the detail of that in a minute. And of course, as everybody is actually doing this, when you're developing application, you want to use an OpenAI API endpoint. So we also provide this on top of the model, right? So in short, you pull it from a hub or any kind of like registry, runs locally, full GPU supports, and of course you can develop with it as usual, as with any other inference engine. So that's what it looked like. I'm going to do a quick demo after that. So you want to pull a model, you Docker model pull it. You want to list all the model you have locally in your station, you just run the list. And then if you want to talk to a model, or talk with quotes, then you Docker run something, and then you ask a question, it's going to be answering to you. So I'm going to do a demo of this in a minute. Of course, models are cool, but you need to have some place to get them, right? And as we are offering the models on Docker Hub, right? So you have already like the major model from Microsoft, Hugging Face, Facebook, and others there, which are prepackaged, so you can pull them and run them right away. And of course, like pulling model is cool, right? But then you are forced to can consume stuff which are done by others. So that part here is not completely ready. Like the first part is not published, it's going to be published later this week. And the second part here is actually available, which is how you can create a model yourself and push it into a registry, right? Again, you can work with Docker on this. You can work with your own registry, right? So that should work, right? Since it's an OCI specification. So that basically means that you can package model that can be used for the model runner. So if you're on a big enterprise, right, that's going to be compatible with the system that you probably have today. How does that work, right? So go read detail for a minute. Left-hand side, host machine. Right-hand side for you, the VM, which hosts the containers. So it's really simple. You have an application, be it like Cloud or like whatever, the thing that you're currently building, that is going to talk to an inference engine, right, which is actually running the model. And we actually open this on a typical port, right, so 12.434. So any kind of application that want to talk to a model just has to connect to this. It's going to be an OpenAI API endpoint. I need to say this in English better. And then, yeah, so that's the part, right? And as you can see, since it's on the host machine, the model is going to be running on your host and have full access to your machine resources, right? And then, of course, all the containers are running in the VM as per usual on your machine, right? But to reproduce the fact that you can access the inference engine, we are putting an internal DNS name of model-runner.docker, the internal, that allow you to connect to that directly. So if you're a developer, you just have to shift localhost from model runner, and then you can access the inference engine, right? And you have your traditional application. So let's say your Nginx container or your database or whatnot, or your vector database running in containers, and you can still access a model runner, and you have full access to your GPU. That's like tiny things for those who wants to see how the code is actually working. So this is like the traditional thing, right? It's nothing fancy there. Just a couple of ways you can connect to an inference engine. Actually, I could have shown you this with other inference engine. That's exactly the same way, right? That's the purpose of that slide here. What else do I got? Yes. When you run an application, usually you don't have a model by itself, right? An application is also, most of the time made of multiple processes, right? Most cases you have maybe a database or some kind of storage, and you have a main service. And when you're in the Docker world, you use Docker Compose for this, which actually allow you to run your whole application in one go. And so this is not ready for now. So this is the sneak peek of what we're going to ship soon. But basically, so you see here your app in the center. You have at the bottom your database. So when you do Docker Compose hub on this, all those things are going to run. And now we are offering the possibility to run a model also there, right? So you're going to be adding your model and saying like, hey, I need the Microsoft fee model to be part of my application. Just doing this will start the whole stuff. Of course, if you don't have the model locally, it's going to pull the model and start it, right? And it will do so in such a way that your app will not start until the model is ready, right? So it's really a way for you to develop with your application in a very efficient way. And yeah, the demo now. All right. This is the part where I'm going to fumble, so like send me good vibes. All right, so I'm going to try to do this while speaking at the same time. So I hope you hear me. So the first part is going to be showing you. So I was trying to show you before, like you can pull a model, right? So typing with one hand, I don't know how to do it, right? I'm going to try to do it anyway. So if you pull a model, you're going to see right away that the model is actually cached, right? I'm not going to download 9 GB on the conference network right now. So this is like typically I prepare the whole thing. And then what else you can do? Again, sorry for the slow typing here. You can actually list all the model that I got. So you see here, I got a few of them, right? The Gemma 3, Llama 3.2, Mistral, and Phi 4. I got a rather small computer with only 6 GB of memory, right? So if I run like a Llama 3.3 or something, it's going to be absolutely exploding, right? So this is the kind of model I can be using here. So that's it. And then maybe I can ask him a few questions. So again, everything is behind the Docker model command line. I can ask him to run something. So what is the most, yes, or maybe something like, what is the most visited place? No, not with Llama 3.3. Here we go. What should I do in Paris after GOSIM conference today? List 5 activities, less than 100 words. Right? I don't know, for example, right? So you see now, the thing is that the model is not always in memory, right? So I'm going to speak a little bit while the memory goes, while the model goes into my memory. And here you go. You have the thing started. You might not have seen this. You can see here, this is my memory pressure, right? You see that I'm like almost like using 100% of my memory right now, of the 16 GB. And the model is now in memory. So if I re-ask the same question, the output is going to start right away, right? So we are handling the memory management for you. You don't have to worry about this. You might have, when the memory is stretched, just lose a little bit of time, the startup time, but that's basically it. You can see also that we are not that good right now on showing like Markdown output. We're working on this, right? So if you see the star things, in the future it's going to be with like bold and all that stuff. So we are writing a whole terminal UI that's going to be displaying this for developers. So here you go. Less than a few minutes, you can run most of the models on your machine as long as your machine actually support it. And it's like shipped as a container. And to show you maybe that I'm not cheating with the fact that it's an OpenAI API endpoints. So here I've crafted a curl message directly to the LLM. So you can see here that I'm showing I'm connecting to localhost 112.434. And I'm sending the raw data of like what could an application send. So you can see like I'm calling the AI Phi model and I'm just Phi 4 and I'm just asking hello. So if I run this now, it's going to connect to it. At the bottom here, you're going to see the connection. And then you can see here now the JSON output of the model, which can show here you have the answer. That was really not a super useful question, but the beauty of this, the beauty is more like you can see like a number of tokens that you've been used, all the stuff that you were used to be doing whenever you're developing with models. And this is typically the kind of thing that you're interested in when you want to work with a framework, for instance, right? Most of the people don't spend time writing curl message like this. Actually, it took me like at least 10 minutes to write it correctly. So most of the time you use a SDK, like a Python one or a Node one or whatever, and that's actually going to show you that it's going to be compatible with the model. So in short, you can now run all the models on your workstation. The only thing you have to do is download Docker Desktop, which is which is completely free. So you can use this now today. Like that works. Like I don't have any kind of preview or anything. That's actually available. Getting down to the slides. One more thing. So MCP is probably the most hyped buzzword right now, right? There is a change absolutely every 6 hours about someone doing something new with that stuff. And of course, do you know since when MCP has been around? Anyone want to guess? You know? 5 months and a half, right? So nobody knows what they're talking about. Right? Let's be clear about it, right? We are forging this technology as we speak, and I'm going to take maybe 2 minutes to actually explain to you what it is before we get there. So it's a new protocol, right? So MCP stands for Model Context Protocol. So it's a protocol. It's boring stuff, right? That's like it's connecting things. The thing is, it's standards interface for AI agents, apps, and LLM. What does it do? it allows you to take a source, a binary, anything, and you can connect it to your LLM, right? So that's a protocol that allows the LLM to talk to that. So maybe you remember back in the day when everybody was talking about API, right? Like 10 years ago or something. API was fantastic because then you can have like two machines talking to each other through an API, right? And basically, I think MCP is exactly that, right? For LLM and other systems. So it's not about you, it's about like making an LLM talk with something else. Yeah, so it's an evolution from what OpenAI introduced when they did tool call. What else should I say? Yeah, let's get down into the detail there. So the beauty of this is that so look at the first line first, right? Like you got an application, which could be the application that you're currently developing, maybe it's Claude, maybe it's something else, that you connect to an LLM somewhere, right? So that's what you have. And usually when you do this, the application is going to send a list of messages, right? Like, hey, can you help me solve that problem or something else? What we call tool call is actually we're going to add to this application a list of tools, which is actually can be run by the application that will do something for you. For example, like just a time server, like something that tells you what time is it. You're going to send this list of tools to the application as well with the message. And the LLM will actually say, oh, please call this tool. So there is a back and forth toward the application. The application is going to call the tool and enhance the message that you just asked with the result of this tool. Meaning, like, for instance, if you ask it what time is it in Singapore, it's going to go to the LLM. The LLM is going to say, oh, but you have a tool that say that. Call the tool. The application is going to then call the tool. The application is going to get the result from the tool. It's going to send the same question again. What time is it in Singapore? And by the way, I called this tool, and the tool said it is like 6 p.m. or something. And then the LLM will consume this and get you the answer, right? Explaining MCP is as hard as explaining Docker, so I hope you got it. And then basically the kind of tool that you can call is actually local, right? You can call I don't know, ls on your machine or what kind of file you have, but it can also be a function call. Meaning like it could be a remote function call. You call your Slack API or your, I don't know, your own system, whatever it is, right? So that's what MCP is. The thing with MCP is this is the way you can configure it, right? So bear with me for a minute. I'm going to show you a little bit of JSON. I'm going to show you how you cannot write JSON. So you want to use the GitHub server MCP. This is how you configure Claude with it, right? You have to say, hey, this is my GitHub token. Like, so you're going to write your GitHub token in a plain text file. You're going to put this there. And oh, by the way, you need NPX, right? So NPX is kind of a node development environment. That's what you have to do, right? So as a user, if you want to use an MCP server today, that's what you have to do. You have to install NPX. You have to know where to get your GitHub token. You have to put it in there in plain text, and you have to put it at the right place for your system to actually get it. If you're not so much of a JavaScript guy, let's not do a language war right now. You can use UVX, which is the Python version. That's the same thing. You need the Python environment. You need UVX there, right? So you have to write that down today. Again, 5 months old, so it's like kind of early days. So what do you do, right? If you're a heavy MCP user like me, then you have multiple clients, right? Maybe I'm using Claude and Cursor every day. You need to have MCP server connected to each of them, and you need to have all those environment, right? Like maybe a Node one and 2 Python one, right? That one is explicitly very difficult. And as an engineer, I'm not super happy about that, right? Like I want to have the least amount of problem on my machine, right? Because it's going to be more complex. So that's what we're trying to solve with the MCP catalog and the MCP toolkit. The first thing we're doing, so yes, sorry, runtime and dependencies installation that you have to do. So the first thing we're doing is the same way we're proposing on Hub a list of all the models. We have on the Hub now a list of MCPs, right? You have more than 100 of them there right now. Actually, this is available today. I'm going to do a quick demo after that. And that's so you can get them, and they are in the Docker environment, right? So it means that all the MCP servers have been put into a Docker container for you. You don't have anything to worry about. What does that mean? Is that now, when you want to configure your thing, you don't need to know where NPX is or UVX is or whatever it is. You just Docker run something, and boom, you get it, right? Same stuff with the database. When I started my explanation, this is the same thing, right? You want an MCP MCP server? Don't worry, it's there. So now, with that system, you can run everything in container. So you have all the MCP server running there. You don't have any kind of development environment, right? Well, of course, you need to have Docker. But that's the only thing you need, right? You don't need like 2 or 3 or 4 different systems, right? We manage this for you, right? Maybe all of those are actually still running with Python or Node, where you don't care. We take care of that for you. So each can launch their own server. That's still an issue, right? Though, because maybe you have multiple servers running for the same client. And also, you still need to do the configuration, right? So that's why now, okay. And then what we have is we have the MCP toolkit, which actually solve that problem, right? You've seen that with the GitHub example, you were placing your token in plain text into a file on your machine, right? If anyone is in security, they're dying right now. It's like, don't do that. But again, emerging technology, this is how you start learning, right? And then so the MCP toolkit is solving that problem for you. And we have actually an application that actually allows you to pick and choose any kind of MCP server, configure them, and run them right away. I'm going to do a demo of this in a minute. Yeah, actually now. So let's do that. So the first part is showing you the MCP server, which is on Docker Hub, right? So you have a list of all the MCP server that you can connect to. All of them are containerized, right? Oh, you don't see that much? So you see, for example, if you're more into databases, that you have access to SQLite, you have Postgres somewhere on the right-hand side. If you are more into development and you want to ask where you are, what kind of issues you have as an engineer every day, you have like GitLab and GitHub MCP server that can then connect to your LLM, and you ask it like, hey, what should I do today? Is there any issue that I popped up overnight? If you want to connect to your existing system, like Jira, you have Atlassian over there. You want to connect to your wiki, you have Notion, or talk to Slack, right? And basically, that's going to connect all those tiny systems inside your LLM, right? And all of those things here, they're built by Docker. So we take care of the security for you, and we take care of the environment. So we make sure that actually they work. Actually, it's very early, so maybe some of them actually don't work, right? So you're going to tell me if that's the case. But yeah, as you can see, it's already quite used a bit. So that's the first part. The second part is then in Docker Desktop, you have what we call an MCP toolkit here, which is actually reproducing what you've seen here. So you've seen here, you have a bunch of those MCP server, right, which are all here. This is running on my workstation here. This is a host application. This is the same thing that runs your container, right? So there's not a website here. And actually, it's a very simple application. You have servers, you have clients. And the idea is you're going to pick some servers and connect them to clients, right? It can't be easier than that. So for example, I got multiple clients here, Cloud Desktop being one of them. How much time do I have? Okay, so I'm going to quickly go through that. So maybe I want to use the GitHub official server. So if I want to use the MCP server, rather than select it or do some kind of JSON, I'm going to click on this. And now it's there. You can see here all the question you can ask the MCP server about. So get, commit, fork some repository, create one, whatever. And I already did the configuration, which is actually here copying in a secure way the token, right? So this is the first version. So you still have to copy your token, but we're working with GitHub and others to have an auth flow. So you will basically saying like, I want to connect to GitHub. You click on something, you go to GitHub, you access the token is going to be fetched into your application, and we store this securely in the keyring of your computer, right? So it's like not somewhere in a file. It's the same place that your computer stored your password. So that's one. And then now when you do this, you can launch Cloud. Oh no, the first thing, and then you need to connect to Cloud, right? So now I'm saying like, you've seen the little JSON I was writing down? Like you need to write down that JSON. So when you click that button, we do this for you. So we found Cloud, and we've write the configuration for you in there. So you don't have anything to do. So now when you start Cloud, if I manage to start Cloud correctly, here we are. Cloud is here. He knows who I am, good. And then here you can see that MCP Docker are 36 tools. The 36 tools, when you look at them, is all the one that we just added from GitHub, right? I got 5 minutes left. So and now I'm going to Git Cloud and show you how you can enable other things. For example, to do a nice demo, I can use the SQLite one. SQLite, as you know, is a very lightweight database. So I click on this, relaunch Cloud, and now you're going to see that I got more system. I got 42, I was 36 before. And you can see here now I got listable and all that one, which are actually provided there. So by just doing that, I managed to connect Cloud with Docker containers running, which are going to access remote server, right? That's what we're trying to do. So how does that work? Well, maybe we can do a demo now. So the demo would be list the last 5 PR of the Docker. Still need to know how to type, visibly. Build the kit project on GitHub. So now by default, if you ask Claude this, he's not going to be able to do so. So now Claude is going to think a little bit if the conference network is working with me. He's going to try to do it. And now he's calling actually the MCP server here. You see list pull request. So he's asking me, do you want me to search for the issues too? So I'm going to access this, let him access that. Okay, maybe it's not working for my demo, of course. Okay, that's actually failing. Great. So now he's reporting to the searching web. All right, good demo, which is actually failing. Anyway, the main thing you need to see here is that actually he was trying to call directly the GitHub MCP server that I got running to call GitHub directly, right? So maybe that didn't work that well for some reason. Anyway, he found some anyway. Moby build. Oh, because I would put Docker build kit and not Moby build kit. Okay, that's on me. All right. So let me try this again, maybe. Actually, Docker/buildkit doesn't exist. It's Docker. It's Moby/buildkit. That's on me. I should know that. So hopefully now I took this is going to work. So basically, what is happening there now is like calling the Docker container which has access to your token, calling GitHub, and getting back the answer and fetching that. Here you go. Right. So now you have live information from the PR. So if you are working on another project, you have access to that. And since I added also the SQLite one, maybe I can do something like. So I'm asking you now to create a database locally because I got the SQLite MCP server that can create database for me. So now he's calling this tool. So I'm creating a database for me about like those things. And actually, he decided by himself to write the query to insert all the 5 PR I just got from GitHub into this database. Now the database has the information. He told me how he was creating the whole thing. I don't really care at that point. But basically now, I went from nothing, talking to LLM, getting some PR from GitHub, and fetching them into a local database. So now I can do any kind of like local query on that thing by myself, right? Either because I'm going to connect directly to the SQLite database or going to go through the LLM there. So you see how with MCP server, you can connect a couple tools, and actually get that directly there. How much time do I have? 2 minutes? All right, so maybe we need to wrap up there at that point. All right, so that was the MCP thing. The last thing I wanted to show you is that, so MCP toolkit available now today. Again, go to Docker Desktop. You can install this. It's completely free. You can use it. Tell us how it works, what you like. You can also write Docker. If you're working for a company that likes to write MCP server, right? You can suggest to us, to my team, our MCP server to be Dockerized. We do the Dockerization for you at first. Like in the future, we're going to tell you how to do it. But for now, we actually do this. So this is so if you want your company to be in there somewhere in this list, you can actually do that. Yeah. So that's basically what I have for you. If I got a single minute left, I'm going to show you. Oops, where is this? Here. I'm going to skip the agent part. I'm going to go directly to this slide, which actually lets you, if you pick up that QR code, you can actually download all the stuff I talked to you about today. I'll be around anyway the whole morning and a little bit in the afternoon. So you want to talk to me either in French or in English, I'll be happy to answer any kind of question for you. And then especially as I'm driving the teams doing this, if you have any feedback on this, you try this out, like contact me. I'm super happy to get your feedback from any one of you. Thank you, everybody. That's a wrap.